her parenting. Nothing was ever good enough for him. I have vivid memories of hiding in my room, pillow over my ears, trying to drown out their arguments. As I got older, my father's toxic behavior extended to me. He had a knack for undermining my confidence at every turn. When I brought home straight A's, he'd ask why there wasn't an A+. If I won second place in a competition, he'd wonder aloud why I couldn't have been first. It was a constant barrage of criticism and impossible standards. I remember one incident particularly clearly. I was 14 and had just been elected class president. I was so excited to share the news with my parents. My mother was thrilled, hugging me and asking all about the election. But my father? He scoffed and said, "Class president? That's just a popularity contest. It doesn't mean anything in the real world." I felt deflated, my accomplishment reduced to nothing in his eyes. Despite the challenges at home, I managed to excel in school. I threw myself into my studies and extracurricular activities, partly as a way to avoid being at home. When I was 16, I started dating my first boyfriend, Tom. He was kind and supportive, everything my father wasn't. Of course, my father immediately disapproved. He claimed Tom wasn't good enough for our family, despite never having met him. He went as far as to follow us on dates, hiding badly behind newspapers in restaurants or slouching down in his car outside the movie theater. The final straw came when he showed up at Tom's house one evening when I was there for dinner. He barged in, shouting about Tom's intentions and threatening to call the police if Tom didn't stay away from me. Needless to say, that relationship didn't survive my father's interference. When it came time for college applications, I applied to several schools, including my father's alma mater. I was thrilled when I got accepted into a prestigious university, one that was actually higher ranked than where my father had gone. His reaction? He scoffed and said I only got in because they needed to fill a quota. That comment hurt more than I cared to admit, but I was determined to prove him wrong. During my college years, I met Luke. He was in my economics class, and we bonded over our shared love of obscure 80s movies. As we got to know each other, I opened up about my family's situation. Luke was understanding and supportive, helping me navigate the complex emotions I had regarding my family. He encouraged me to see a counselor on campus, which was incredibly helpful in processing my childhood experiences. With Luke's support and the tools I gained in counseling, I started setting boundaries with my parents, especially my father. I limited my calls home to once a week and stopped sharing every detail of my life with them. This didn't go over well with Herbert, who saw it as a personal attack on his authority. He'd leave angry voicemails, demanding to know why I was shutting him out. After graduation, Luke and I got married in a small ceremony. My father caused a scene at the wedding, getting into an argument with a photographer and later complaining loudly about the food. It was embarrassing, but sadly not surprising. Luke and I were determined to create a loving, stable environment for our future children, something neither of us had growing up. We both worked hard, went to night school to further our education, and eventually settled into good careers. Luke became a software engineer, and I went into marketing. When our first child was born, a daughter we named Luna, my father's behavior took on a new dimension. He started offering unsolicited parenting advice, criticizing everything from how we fed her to how we dressed her. He'd make comments like, "You're holding her wrong, she'll never learn to walk properly if you do it like that." It was exhausting and infuriating. For the sake of my mother and siblings, I maintained limited contact with my father over the years. I allowed him to see our children occasionally, always under our supervision. However, his behavior remained problematic. He tried to undermine our authority with the kids, telling them they didn't have to listen to us if they didn't want to. He'd bring inappropriate gifts, like a loud drum set for our toddler's birthday, despite us explicitly asking for quiet toys due to our new baby. As our family grew, we now have 3 children, Luna, 12F, Jack, 8M, and Emma, 5F. My father's behavior seemed to worsen. He'd pit the kids against each other, praising one while criticizing another. He once told Jack that he was clearly the smart one in the family, right in front of Luna. We had to spend weeks rebuilding Luna's confidence after that incident. The final straw came last year. My father started spreading malicious rumors about Luke to our extended family. He claimed that Luke was cheating on me with a coworker and mismanaging our finances. These accusations were completely baseless. Luke is the most loyal person I know, and we've always been transparent about our finances. But my father's lies caused a lot of stress and drama within the family. Some relatives even started treating Luke coldly based on these false rumors. I later found out that my father had started these rumors after overhearing a conversation at a family gathering. Luke had been talking to his cousin about a female coworker who was going through a divorce. Luke had mentioned helping her find a good lawyer, as he had a friend in family law. My father had twisted this act of kindness into a sordid affair in his mind. After much discussion with Luke, I decided it was time to cut ties with my father completely. It wasn't an easy decision, but I felt it was necessary for our family's well-being. I sent him an email explaining my decision and asked him not to contact us anymore. I also reached out to my extended family to clear the air about the false rumors. For a few months, things were quiet. We enjoyed the peace in our household. The kids seemed more relaxed, and we were able to focus on positive things like their school activities and our family hobbies without the constant dark cloud of my father's negativity. Then, last week, I received a series of aggressive emails from my father. He demanded to see his grandchildren and threatened to take us to court for grandparents' rights if we didn't comply within 48 hours. I was shocked and scared. I didn't even know grandparents' rights were a thing. I immediately started researching and found out that in our state, grandparents can indeed petition for visitation rights under certain circumstances. This information sent me into a panic. The thought of being forced by law to expose my children to my father's toxic behavior is terrifying. I don't know what to do. We can't afford expensive legal fees right now, as we've been saving for our children's education. The idea of facing my father in court makes me physically ill. I've worked so hard to create a peaceful life for my family, and now it feels like it's all being threatened. Has anyone dealt with a similar situation? I'm desperate for advice on how to protect my children from my father's influence without bankrupting ourselves in the process. Update 1. Thank you all for your support and advice. It's been a whirlwind few days since my last post, and I wanted to update you on what's happened. First, I want to address some of the comments suggesting I get a restraining order. After researching and speaking with a legal aid lawyer, I learned that it's not as simple as just asking for one.